And we're live.
Yeah, it looks like we're live. So what's going on, Richard?
You didn't announce the name or say who you
I
are.
have not, we're not even there yet. I'm saying, what's going on? Yes.
Good.
Tonight, welcome everybody to Ask a Superbike Genius post Button Willow test for the 2021 season. And I'm here with Richard Stanboli from Fresh and Lean Attack Performance Yamaha Racing.
You got it right.
Yes.
I asked Greg White if he's going to be able to pronounce that properly.
You know what? Greg he does a good job with that stuff, so he's probably gonna just slap himself, and if he doesn't do it right, Pridmore will probably make fun of him, right?
I'll make fun of him for sure.
Oh, everybody, yeah.
Yeah, I'll make fun of him regardless.
That dude puts in the work, man. I was at the shop with you this morning, and but before I was on a ride with one of my TrackDaz guys. He just bought one of our ones.
Yeah, those are hard to come by.
Yeah, I'm hearing that a lot. Yeah, Carlo, and he was telling he was telling me that that how Greg White, nobody understands why people hate on that guy. You see on social media and stuff, people hate on that guy, and I'm like, I don't understand why. That dude puts in the work, man. Like, he goes and asks a bunch of questions and studies, and we kind of make fun of the fact that he knows all the stats, right? It's like, oh, Greg White definitely knows that.
He knows a lot of stats, but then I listened to one episode of his blog.
Yeah.
Or what do they call that thing? It's a blog, right? Yeah. Anyway, Greg Garage.
Yeah, huh? yeah. Podcast.
That's it. Podcast. Yes. Sorry, Greg. And he got some of our facts incorrect, but he was going back to 2000, 2001 when Pridmore was riding for us.
Yeah.
And so I was like, it didn't happen that way, but that's right. I didn't call him out on it.
I mean, what are you going to do, right?
Like, it was pretty close. It was pretty close.
20 years ago. Like,
I know. I could barely remember it.
Yeah.
And I was there.
Yeah. So, we were at Button Willow last week with the team, right? So how'd that go for you guys?
I think it went pretty decent. We had some dirt roll in on the second day, so it kind of screwed up the second day pretty much. But man, Jake was on fire. He came out swinging.
Yeah,
we changed some things around on his bike, and he was immediately like way faster. It was crazy.
Yeah, I talked to him a little bit on both days, actually, and on Sunday, or on not Sunday, because it's not a week. It all blends together, man. But the second day of the test,
Thursday,
I talked to Jake, and he had this sinister look on his face, and like he's definitely happy with what's going on at the team. So you want to talk a little bit about that? I know you've made some changes over there on that side of the wall.
Yeah, we tried a few things, shifting some personnel around. And we hired John Cornwell, who was formerly of Olin's USA, to work with our team full time. And so we just took him out just to see what his thoughts were and how Jake got with him. And then we brought Darren Marshall, formerly of Yoshimura and Honda and Kawasaki and a bunch of teams. And then he was also Wyman's crew chief last year. So I brought him in to kind of be a little more of a technical director across both sides. So our focus this year was to bring a little more synergy between the two sides, quite a bit more overlap. And I think we're able to accomplish that. The first test was a bit hectic, as they usually are. We had sold that bike over there to Jeff Burke, who's number 31 of all things, and that happens to be the number 31 motorcycle.
Right.
So that was kind of ironic in itself. So he was out, and we are kind of trying to show him around the motorcycle a bit. And so my attention for sure was being torn every which direction. So it made it a little bit of a rough start. Not terrible, but couldn't really focus on Heron, who's our new rider. They made that announcement on Friday that I think most people who are watching this probably already know that.
Right. Yeah. And you have a new team name, and
except for you, because you didn't even know we announced the team name.
You have a new team name and a new return rider for the team, right? So
So Jake's side, I think it went really, really well. We had a little bit of a rough start on Josh's side. we did the usual stuff. We're changing lever positions and things like that, trying to make him comfortable on a Yamaha again, because I think it's been a couple of years since he raced a Yamaha. He was on the Yoshimura bike. So getting used to that is a completely different animal, seating position and seats and bars and things like that. And then the BMW is, again, the power delivery is probably a little more aggressive, and the seating position is completely different. The fuel tank shape is completely different. So it took him probably the good morning to get his head around how to ride the motorcycle, the Yamaha again. And then we developed a running condition with that bike. It was the one that Cameron raced at Laguna, went so fast on. All of a sudden, the engine started coming out of phase. What that means is when the cam sensor and the crank sensor talk to each other and tell the engine where it's at. And then the engine knows when to fire the injectors, when to fire the coils. So it started getting a little confused, and that caused a misfire. So we chased that for a couple of sessions, finally said, you know what, screw it, bring out the spare bike. We can't waste all day on this. So he got to do the last session, I think it was, on the first day. And if anybody's ever ridden on Button Willow, the last session, usually the sun's in your eyes, right around 4 o'clock. So we quit at 4. And so he only got a couple real hard sessions, but he did pretty good in the amount of time that he had on the motorcycle. And the next day, we had the morning, kind of chilly in the morning over there, you know, because for whatever reason, that valley gets super cold. And so you have to wait till about 10:30 or 11 before you start riding. And so we went out and did one session, and boom, a big old sandstorm came in and just destroyed the racetrack. So we couldn't get any real good time on the second day. So it was kind of, like I said, kind of a rough test for Josh, but man, Jake was on fire.
Yeah, you know, like I said, the look on his face was quite telling. You know, I mean, I watched both of them during that morning when, you know, when it was still pretty decent out that second day. And, you know, there was something I noticed about Jake's bike. You know, I know, like you said, Josh was trying to figure out where everything is supposed to be again.
Yeah, his office.
He still went decently fast, you know, considering.
Yeah, no, he went good. He went good for having, if you had to compare, Josh went as fast as Cameron went on the first day on our bike.
For sure.
Yeah, so hopping off the Wymus bike, you know, the Yamaha US bike, I think Cameron was about at the same pace. And the second day, Cameron stepped it up. So if you had to compare apples to apples, Josh did pretty well. But Jake had already has a year on the motorcycle, so he came out swinging. There was no figuring out where the bars were. He was just right straight away, you know, spin the tire, do wheelies, all that stuff.
Well, there was one thing I noticed about Jake that I actually talked to you a little bit about it, and, you know, I kind of want you to explain this, but, you know, Jake's bike at the corner exit in a couple of places where I was watching, you know, previously, that thing looked like it was tying itself up into knots at the corner exit, you know, and that with Jake's super aggressive kind of hang it out there style, you know, it kind of looks like it's Jake, but this time the bike was not looking like that at the corner exit. It was just driving forward. So you want to talk a little bit about that, and, you know, what?
Well, that's where, are you talking about May last year or this year when we tested?
Correct.
Yeah, so that was right before Road America. And I think the bikes have come a long ways in the development. You know, like everybody's gonna get smarter, everybody's gonna get faster. So through the season, even some of the competitors started catching up to us. You know, the M4 bikes, the Fong, and those guys. They were right there with Jake. And the thing that we brought to the test this time was maybe a better synergy of the chassis dynamics and electronics. So Paul, who was our data guy last year on Jake's side, he's a really good fuel injection guy, really smart guy, understands the systems really well. But where he struggled a bit was in the dynamics, like the chassis side of it, and how to blend the power delivery and electronics with the chassis. And so we were, last year we had Tom Halverson would just step in and help that side out of it, because I was pretty busy with Cameron's side. You know, we're not a gigantic MotoGP team, so we have to make do with what we have budget wise. So I think the direction we went this year is, let's get the management of the sides a little more integrated with chassis, you know, electronics, the dynamics of the bike, all that stuff together. the power delivery versus how the suspension acts. So I think with bringing John and Darren and myself together, bump our heads together, and kind of we're going to be sharing some responsibility across both sides. So Darren's doing a lot of the base work, and then of course when we go to the wall, we're going to be separate because everyone's going to be focused on their rider. So I think that's going to help the whole team rise.
It looked like Marshall came prepared too. I mean, you said something about him studying up on the data overlays and showing up to the test with a good plan for Jake.
Yeah, we had to give him a little bit of VPN for all you computer geeks, which you are. A little VPN connection to the shop server so you can get online and look at some of the information that we had previously. So you can kind of study up on the bike. The Yosh bikes were different, obviously, and the Ducati's different. Every manufacturer has a little bit of difference in their systems, even though they're the same. Let's say ECU, the control unit's the same, or the dash might be the same. Some of all the components can be the same, but the way they go about applying that stuff to the motorcycle is a little bit different. So yeah, he spent quite a bit of time getting online and hooking into our server and staring at some of that stuff, staring at the information and trying to come out prepared, and he did a good job.
So you got a new title sponsor, right? Like the energy drink guys are gone, and you got the Fresh and Lean. Yeah,
it seems to be the thing nowadays, especially with COVID, that people order in their food, right? And so yeah, Fresh and Lean is a company that we've known for a few years now. And Thomas, who's a co-CEO of that company, we've been working on his motorcycles for the past few years, and Josh, I think, met him at Chuckwalla one time. We were out there testing with Josh, and I think it was one of your events.
Yeah,
actually. And Thomas was there with his box fan and the Fresh and Lean on the side, and Josh was over there chatting with him, and so I think they developed a friendship. And he's been, like I said, a customer of our shop. And when the opportunity opened up for title sponsorship, I think it was like a perfect fit with Cameron leaving, Monster deciding to do some other program. And so that opened up the idea of Josh coming in and Fresh and Lean coming in. So it all kind of fit together real well. We had talked to Thomas a couple of years ago when Josh was on our team in 18. And I don't think it's either his company wasn't ready or we weren't ready to make that whole deal come together. But now I think it's a pretty good opportunity for everyone. I think it should be a lot of fun. Plus he's a racer. He understands what food means as far as fitness and all that. And, so he understands the whole sport, which is really good. And he's a Yamaha enthusiast as well.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Josh has kind of come full circle with that, because he was previously, if you remember, he back in the day, he was supported by that hot dog company. And
yeah. Josh is not known for being Mr. Health Conscious.
No, man. But you could tell, I mean, when he showed up to the test, he looked a lot more fit than he looked previously. I mean, he's definitely putting in some work, and maybe eating that stuff is helping, because, Heron would be the guy that he had a box of Cheez-Its and a can of Diet Cougars in his hand, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much him. No, he's taken this thing, I think, quite seriously. I think he understands. Yeah. He's done a full circle. He started with Yamaha pretty much.
Yeah.
Where there was Graves and then the factory team, and then, went to Moto 2 and had a pretty horrible time out there in the World Championship. And then he came back and he was on Mean Motorsports, and then he hooked up with us and he won a Super Stock Championship, and then, finished third in the Superbike Championship the next year when we helped him. And so he's gone full circle, and I think I think he's 30 now, maybe 31. And I think he realizes it's time to put your head down and be serious about this sport. And yeah, it's a good thing. He looked pretty serious when he was at the test.
He definitely did. He was all business. He wasn't. Oh, yeah. He wasn't the old 2018 Josh.
No, he didn't shoot me in the head with a Nerf ball.
No.
Nerf gun.
So, you know what? Mark Johnson just asked, what was Josh's impression of the new bike in comparison to the bike he rode in 2018?
Well, for sure it's different. he talked about the gas tank length a little bit, and that's the same. The bars are the same angle, same everything. But I think it's hard for a rider to get off a bike for 2 years because they develop different skills and they develop different motor functions and things like that. To ride a Yoshimura bike, full boogie, trying to win races on that, and then go to the BMW and compete on that and try to make that bike work for him, and then to come back again, there's going to be something that feels different, for sure. And so I think it's just going to be a matter of getting some laps so you can kind of get that warm and fuzzy feeling again. And unfortunately, we didn't get a whole lot of laps at that test, but we plan to go out again in January and see if we can get some more laps.
Yeah, hopefully the California weather holds up, right?
Yeah, it's California. It'll be
somewhat
rideable.
We've done Buttonwillow events in January where it was just insanely cold, and we've also done events in January at Buttonwillow where it was like 70 degrees.
Yeah, I mean, this last test, it was nice the first day.
Yeah.
If we didn't have that running condition, we wasted a few sessions because we would start at 10:30, we're done at 4. So if you waste 2 or 3 sessions trying to find a bug in the bike, then you don't get a whole lot of laps. So it's kind of good we rolled out the spare bike and got him some laps at the end. He did a whole string of laps, and that was pretty good. But it was nice out there. Too bad that sandstorm came in and kind of wrecked the place.
Yeah, I mean, that sandstorm kind of reminded me of other places, right?
Tukwala, Willow Springs.
Yeah, Willow Springs. Yeah.
All the crappy desert tracks. They're always dealing with dust devils and sandstorms.
Right.
Like, what's the sandstorm doing at Buttonwillow?
Yeah, Buttonwillow has these weird. Buttonwillow occasionally gets these weird, almost like a microburst that'll come in and wreck your canopy and leave.
Well, luckily we're in garages because it was blowing pretty damn good all of a sudden. It was just like out of the blue. Yeah. It was like somebody just threw dirt all over the racetrack. I'm like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah, so Donovan Piper says he's excited to see how Josh does with the team, and he wants to know if you're excited to see him week in and week out there, see what he does.
Oh yeah, I'm excited.
That's about the level of excitement that we see from you.
Yeah, pretty much. Rossi could be riding our bike. I'd be like, oh yeah, okay.
And then another one, Mark Johnson again.
Yes.
He says, with the fresh and lean support, is the attack team still the official Yamaha team?
Yeah, nothing changed. Actually, Fresh and Lean is a corporate sponsor of Yamaha.
Oh, okay.
So it's not our personal sponsor. The deal is with Yamaha themselves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so our deal is with Yamaha. So basically, they took over the same spot that Monster had.
Okay.
So that spot was available. They were able to step into it. So it was, like I said, it's a deal between Yamaha and Fresh and Lean. It's a much bigger deal than us.
Okay. So I saw you've been kind of selling some bikes, and one of the guys at the test was that Jeff Perk guy.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting. You said earlier, that's the number 31 bike, and he's 31. Tell me a little bit about that guy. What was his overall goal with buying the Superbike?
Well, that started kind of an opportunity for him. They had reached out to us. I think Chuck Chiachetto from Westby pointed him in our direction. He was looking for a full Morelli system.
Oh.
And those things aren't like, hey, they're you can pick them off a tree somewhere. They're not laying on a shelf. And he's like, oh, Jeff wants to see if you guys can set him up a full Morelli system on his bike. And so he has, a stock bike or something that he raced last year. And so in talking to him, I'm like, you know what, man, we have this Gerloff bike sitting here, pretty much collecting dust. So all you got to do is put down some money on it and you can ride it. It's ready to go. I go, that'd be the easy way to go about it. It already has a Morelli system. We'll support it. So we kind of talked a bit and came up with a price that we all both agreed on, and he purchased the thing. And I don't know if anybody knows who Jeff Burke is, but he's a dentist from Iowa. He's in his 50s, but he still rides pretty fast. And so I think he's almost timed out, he said, as far as the age level that Motor America will allow to race Superbike. So, you know, I don't know if it's going to be his last year and you want to do it really good or what, but he, you know, he seemed to get along with the bike really well. And he brought a couple of his mechanics with him, and they all had a good time. So that was cool.
Yeah, I got to meet both of his mechanics. It was funny that one of his mechanics is actually named Race.
Race, yeah.
I was like, wow, dude.
But it's a Midwestern style spelling, right?
Do what?
But with a Midwestern style spelling.
Oh yeah, they throw a Y in there.
Yeah, Rice.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. So actually that guy ordered a couple of TrackDaz shirts from me after that weekend. So I was like, all right.
So you used our test to profit, is what you're saying.
Basically, yeah. I scoped
cool.
back your test for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, dude, there's motorcycle racers in Iowa?
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, that's another way that he wanted us to ship the bike to Coda for some track day. And I'm like, look, man, not a good idea. Take a full Superbike by yourself to Coda to do a first track day on it and not adjust anything, you know?
Yeah.
So I said, we're going to go have our own test up here at Buttonwillow, and more than likely the weather's going to be really good. So once you just fly in, and we'll just throw the thing in our truck. And so we ended up doing that. And that's why he was there.
So there's a guy on YouTube. His name on YouTube is McNudson77. Okay. He's asking, is Richard managing Josh's race day activities? He had mentioned last year that he wanted to step in overall program lead than an individual racer focus.
Yes, I am going to be Josh's crew chief.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's all really, I mean, you only have so much money you can throw around. So you got to be, yes, there's an overall big picture, and just thought about it nonstop from the last event. How can we get a little more synergy in the team? And I think bringing John in and Darren and working closely on across the board gives me that more overall feel, but also someone has to be dedicated to each rider. So Cornwell will be dedicated to Jake, and I'll be dedicated to Josh.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I hope that answers your question, dude.
Yeah.
And then Tim P asks, he says he hasn't seen very many jocularity videos from Josh on YouTube lately. Have you told him to comment down and be more professional? And then the dude is an advertising genius. So
he is. He definitely is good at promoting himself and anything that he touches. Have I told him calm down? Not really, but I think he's a smart guy. He gets the message. You know, it's a serious effort, and he's, you know, I'd say we're supported by Yamaha, but not at this extent. And so they were pretty much, do whatever you want, you know. And Josh did whatever he wanted. He wasn't contracted by Yamaha at the time, but now he's contracted with Yamaha. There are some rules of behavior that they would like to see and things like that, and he understands that.
Right. Jocularity, though.
Yeah, that's about right, though.
We used to call it jackassicity, but you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
same thing. Yeah.
They said that's jocular. Somebody said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you know, going back to privateer guy Perk, you know, what kind of support is Jeff gonna get from that?
So basically, he got the same software package we run, same ECU, same everything, except he's on a 2019 bike, which is plenty competitive still.
Right.
So when we go from race to race, we'll give him all the setup info we had on Cam's bike. So he'll roll out with whatever Cam rode on, unless he finds his own path, in which case, you know, good on him. If he finds something that's more comfortable for him in particular, then good on him. But for the most part, he'll get the gearing info, the engine management info, and whatever setup info we had. He can set his bars and levers and all those things. And we're actually willing to do that with just about any Yamaha rider that we help through the season, you know, with our components, or, you know, because we want the paddock to grow. We want the paddock to be more educated. We want the paddock to understand the newest technologies, because I think going backwards doesn't do anybody any good. Especially, you know, like I want to step back a bit and talk a little bit about what there was a proposal that Motor America put out, and probably a lot of people heard about it, where they wanted to kind of dumb down the bikes almost to super stock level with a control ECU, like a Motec, like BSB style, but they wanted to also get rid of the swing arms, and they want to get rid of the good forks, and they want to get rid of all types of stuff to make it more competitive and more affordable. And so we had this battle royale between the teams in Motor America, unfortunately. And they kind of delayed the process, and they're going to wait till the FIM makes a decision, which I thought was pretty smart on their part, because that was going to put the hurt on everybody from the low side guy to the high end guy. So let's say we are the high end guys, which I never pictured myself as being that, because we make everything in house, right? For us, a piece of aluminum and some carbon fiber, and we'll make it ourselves. So we don't really consider ourselves the high dollar people, but for us, it would have made us basically push our bikes in the dumpster and start over again. That'd been a cost that we probably couldn't have afforded, because you build all your parts and all your boxes and all the things you buy over the years. You don't do it all in one shot. You don't do it every season. And then for the low end guy, they would have made basically the kit ECUs and all the things that are somewhat affordable for someone who wants to get in at the ground level and show their goods. They would have made that illegal.
Really?
Oh yeah. You'd had to be on a Motec control unit, and that system costs, by the time you're all said and done, the same as a Morelli, because Morelli has a price cap in World Superbike, and they always sell it for the same price, the whole system. But you can't like be Joe enthusiast and hey, sell me a Morelli system. You have to be a racer in either Motor America or World Superbike to be able to get it. And so anyway, so they went back and forth with this thing, and we had to kind of argue our point a bit, and a lot of the teams stepped up and talked about how it was going to affect them, like Wyman and Westby and Bobby Sheck over there at HSBK, and everyone kind of threw in their 2 cents. And at the end, I think they decided, you know what, let's just chill out a little bit. Let's see what happens with the series before we go and throw any more rules changes at it. And so I thought that was pretty good and pretty smart. So we're back on track as far as I'm concerned.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember.
Yeah.
That was kind of interesting time at the shop.
Yeah, we had to pretty much throw on the brakes, because when they decided to do that not for the beginning of this year, but for the beginning of next year, the following year, so 2022, at that point we were thinking, well, how can we invest any more in our program when we got to throw it all out in 10 races? Because you go, oh, okay, well, there's a new IMU that we want to get. Okay, well, I'm going to buy 5 of those things, and I want them to last until 2022, 2023, and beyond, if possible. So if they go, well, we're going to change our mind in a year and make you put all different stuff on. So, okay, now you're thinking, man, I better hold on to all my stuff. I can't sell any of it off. And I better just regurgitate the same bikes over and over again, all the same parts, because at some point we're gonna have to throw all the stuff in the dumpster or sell it to some guy on the street, which would make one happy street guy.
Or some,
yeah, some track day owner guy that got a bicycle back there and a bunch of club trophies.
Yeah,
and plaques.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah, your office looks nice though, man. Last time it was a little barren.
Yeah, I mean, we had the shelves put up, and while they were in here, they also hung up the old trophies and
all those helmets. Nice. Yeah.
I finally did toss the old other brand helmets that were hanging on the old shelf. Yeah.
The K ones.
They weren't K, but they're old.
Yeah.
Been doing this in a while.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of more questions from people. Sure. This Bloodline Racing Moto Vlog says, what advice do you have for a person wanting to go road racing? Like, what's the best direction to go in to get started?
I guess depends on from the ground up, like never road raced before.
Right.
At what age?
I don't know. I mean, I could probably take this if you don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing you would say, which be take a school.
Yeah.
Like I did when I was super young, and take a school and learn how to ride a motorcycle on a racetrack, learn all the flags and all those things. Depends on what your level of understanding is. It's definitely way different to be on the racetrack than it is to watch it from the outside. And it's way different to be on a racetrack than riding the canyons like a lunatic, you know?
Yes.
And all that stuff is way different. So you should probably take a class, do some track days, and then do some club races like what you have for your CRA series.
Right.
A new rider school, some novice races, go out and win some novice races, go expert. You know, hopefully you're fast enough then you can go join the nationals, get a national, maybe you can work your way to a national title, and then on up the ladder you go.
Or you could be a club racer forever.
That's cool too. If you have a day job and that's all you want to do, that's cool. You know, I mean, you have to have fun doing it.
Oh, absolutely.
If you go to the nationals and you're, you know, some people are meant to race and some people aren't. You know, go there and you get smoked and you're not having fun. Where's the fun in that? At least at a club race, you can have some fun. You can hang out with your buddies and at 6 foot distances nowadays, apparently.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, the guy says he does a lot of track days. He just hasn't raced yet. And so, yeah, the thing that you would do if you do a lot of track days and you're already at the upper end of the advanced group or whatever, and you're passing everybody, and you know that club racing is that next logical step.
Yeah.
So, you know, you just sign up for new racer school at whatever your local club is. If you're in Southern California, it would be with track days, right? You would sign up for new racer school, and then once you get that, you get a certificate or whatever, and you take that and go get your competition license for amateur.
Yeah, one piece of advice I'd want to give to people starting a race is don't take it so damn seriously. You see these guys that go out and they think they're winning a Grand Prix. They're mad and they're running like crazy and they're doing all this stuff. Dude, have some fun. You know, don't go crazy at the local club races. Just go and try to win your race and have some fun doing it, you know, and be serious about it. But have some fun doing it. Don't get stupid about it.
Yeah, I mean, it is supposed to be fun, right? Yeah, I mean, the whole club racing thing, it's sort of like camping with your buddies, but with some competition.
Yep, exactly.
So that's kind of the easiest way to describe it. Wow, we got some more questions coming in. Do I think the new Buttonwillow track is going to be ready in 2021 for track days and racing? Yes.
That's your question.
Yes. And then another guy says, when track temps are low, I always thought dropping the tire pressure helps get some heat into the tires. But I just saw Simon Crafar saying it's actually the opposite. This is from multi Bad Bass or Brad Bass. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, no, that's right. Simon's right. The fact when you start with when the air is colder out there, especially on the front, if you run the pressures low, then the tire is never going to rise to where you want it. So it'll feel like crap. You know, it won't steer. It'll feel like it's flat. All those kinds of things. It'd be kind of an indication the tire's still a little cold. So and then the other thing too is in cold temperatures, you got to warm your tires. You know, put on the covers, and then you need to go haul ass right away because the tires will cool off on the racetrack. So if you don't keep that heat in the tires, then the tires will deflate, basically. Not deflate, but they'll lose their pressure and they'll feel worse. And so you might get more cold tearing and you might get, like I said, more mushy feel in the front. So it's better to be, of course, you have to have a clean track. You can't just go out and haul ass right away and then on a dirty track and end up like you did at Buttonwillow one time.
That wasn't because it was a dirty track. That was just because I'm an idiot.
Yeah, that too. I wasn't going to say it, but okay, you're right. Was it lap 1?
I'm not going to say, but yes, I will say. Yes, it was lap 1. I'm an idiot.
I just remember your bike come in the shop and it was completely destroyed.
Yeah, we threw most of that bike in the dumpster.
It was pretty much a lawn sale, yard sale, as they say.
Yes.
Yeah, like a Laguna, for instance, right? It was pretty cold track temperatures there, but we were able to set some pretty crazy lap times.
Yeah.
So just because the track is cold, as long as you choose the right tires, like I said, you got to put pressure in your tires, heat them up real good, and haul ass right away. I might be telling people to do dangerous things at this point, but whatever. That's what we do.
Okay, so let's see. Somebody's saying eBay. I don't know. So this guy is like, so we should run higher pressures in the cold. Yes.
Yeah, well, you need to basically look at where your tire pressures are when you get off the racetrack. So yeah, I would start probably, if you're warming the tires, then start where you normally start. And then, like I said, try to keep the temperature in the tires by going out and going pretty fast right away. But you should check your pressure straight off the racetrack and see if they've really fallen. If they have fallen, let's say you start with, I don't know, 38 PSI in the front or 40 PSI in the front. You come in, they're at 36. Well, bump it up a couple PSI. Not going to make the tire grip any worse, but at least you'll be running around on 38 PSI.
Right.
That'll give the carcass the same feel and all that kind of good stuff.
So Christopher McCreary wants to know, what do you think is going to happen in the Moto America 600 class since Yamaha dropped the R6 and no one races the Honda?
Yamaha's still supporting the R6. So that'd be a question for Yamaha. I don't know it that well, so I can't speak for them, but I know they're still going to be supporting the R6 and they're going to be bringing in some race bikes as well.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, that's what I heard, so I think those might be coming from Europe. And of course, we're here to build race bikes for guys too.
Right.
So I think as long as they have supply of inventory, motorcycles, chassis, whatever, they're going to be bringing those bikes in until they're out of supply. And I think they have something else in the works, I heard through the grapevine, to replace the R6, but, for a different class or different something or another, I don't know all the facts.
I keep trying to get them to just throw the MT-09 engine in a proper chassis and throw bodywork on it.
It might be something like that. I don't know, but, these guys are all pretty secretive about what they're going to introduce.
Oh, they're the worst. I mean, I've actually,
there's a lot more worse than that.
We've tried to scumbag some of the product planning guys. We even tried to put drinks in them, and they're tight-lipped. They will not.
Yeah, no, I'm a subcontractor like you are.
Right.
So I get about the same amount of information.
Yeah. Well, I probably get less because I have a big mouth.
Yeah, probably. They go, oh, here he comes. They all run away.
Oh, we're not going to tell Coiner anything.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right. Yeah. So that guy asking about the new racer school, he says, what racing school do you guys think is worth the money? He says he's in New Jersey area. He's really leaning towards the champ school, but any advice?
Yeah, the airplane ticket to California is pretty cheap nowadays.
Well, I will say this, the Yamaha Champions Riding School, they do a lot of days at New Jersey, and but that's not really a racing school. That's more of like a riding skills kind of program.
Yeah.
In order to go racing, you're going to have to go pass a new racer school. So
who he should talk to in New Jersey is obviously Mark Rosema, Mark Belt.
Yes.
I mean, he's really heavily involved in that track.
Yes, he is.
And his girlfriend's kind of wife, because he's been with her for a long time. I think she manages the track or manages she has something to do with the management of it. Yeah. So I know that last year he had some event right after the race, the national race. But so I would get with him, Mark Rosema and Mark Bill, and he could point this guy in the right direction.
Yeah. I mean, I know they race, I think, was it CCS that races there? I'm not sure, but whatever racing club racing there probably has a list of new racer schools that are supported by them or whatever. And, I would say talk to that Mark guy from Mark Built, and he'll tell you which one to go to. He'll probably have one for you to sign up for, right?
Probably.
I think he actually does. He's like the track support guy too. I mean, something.
Yeah, he's got, he stores a lot of race bikes at his shop because it's so close to the track.
Right.
So if people in New York, they don't have a lot of space or whatever, he builds bikes for them and stores them at the shop, and they come pick it up and go to the racetrack. It's pretty convenient.
He says Mark Built never answers the phone.
It does for me.
Sorry, bro.
Maybe he doesn't like you.
Wow. That's rough. Dude, dial his shop from your buddy's phone.
Yeah, there you go. See if he answers then.
Yeah. So let's see. Yes, Tim P says CCS and Weira both race at New Jersey. So
okay.
Yeah. Oh, and Tim P says, what exact tire pressure do you run, Stanboli?
Oh, it's based on the rider and the compound of the tire. But we typically run anywhere from 38 to 40 PSI on the Dunlop front.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, Pirelli's a little bit different. And the rear is always kind of the same on the Dunlops, like around 20 PSI or something. Because they don't really change like the Pirelli does. The Pirelli, you got to be really, really careful with what you have for pressures and the temperatures, especially. And those things stay on the warmer all day. You get them in the morning and you put them in an oven, and then they stay all day long.
Yeah, the one thing I do like about the Pirellis, I mean, I've been on Pirellis for a long time, and so they get to a certain point and they just stay there all the way until the cords are showing. And I've actually done that.
That's because you're going too slow.
Such a bully, man.
The world guys lose like a second.
Jeez. Yeah. Okay. Yes, for normal club
guys, yeah, they're really consistent. Yeah.
Yes, they're super consistent all the way to the end. I mean, they yell at me because I bring them a tire basically every other event that has a cord showing, and they're like, "What the hell, man?"
Yeah. Well, they will definitely run down the cords, and then they give up the ghost, because that happened to us at World Superbike with Josh. Actually, he wore that tire completely out in the rear. He was up there pretty damn good, and then right to the back.
Right.
Murdered the tire.
Right.
Before we knew how much power we could apply to those Pirellis, and you have to be really careful about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Brian Seagraves wants to know which swing arms you are using on the new bike. Do both riders use the same swing arm?
Yeah, we're using our own in-house built swing arm, and it was based on some testing we did with the World Superbike pieces, and we found something that was maybe a little better for the Dunlop tire, because the World Superbike swing arm is designed around the Pirelli. And so we have our own in-house swing arm. If someone wanted to go out and buy a swing arm, we highly recommend the Suitor. We use our clutches. We don't use our swing arms, but they're really good. The Westby guys use our swing arms, and we use our clutches, and they're bulletproof.
And the swing arm you're using is what, the third generation? I forget. Fourth generation. Yeah, I was right the first time.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so we were talking earlier today too about supporting other riders, and you talked a little bit about it about the Jeff Perk bike that's behind you.
Yeah.
You've basically set it up to where there's not really much reason not to race a Yamaha, right? I mean,
yeah, like there's another privateer coming up from 600s who might be making an announcement soon, is what I hear, regarding a Superbike program.
Wink, wink, nod.
Yeah,
you know who you are.
Yeah, you know who you are. The guy who emails me every day looking for advice. Yes. But anyway, we're same thing with him. He runs our components or Yamaha, and we'll support him with a lot of information. Keep the guesswork out of it. It was kind of trying to pass the good fortune downstream a little bit. Of course, until he starts beating us, then the doors are closed and the phone won't ring and all that kind of good stuff. But anyway, yeah, we're brutal over here about winning. But anyway, so he'll get the same treatment that Burke is getting, where he'll get a lot of start maps from us, stuff that we learned from Cameron and Jake and so on, and stuff we may develop in the future as well. He signs an NDA basically saying that he's not going to share all that info with any other team. And we'll give him whatever he needs, help him succeed. And he's going to build a proper Superbike, is what I hear. Morelli with a good forks and a Suitor swing arm and all the good stuff. Nice. So it should be interesting to see how a 600 guy goes on it. Plus the guy's super small, so he's going to be super fast at Coda.
He weighs nothing. Like the guy,
he's like 100 pounds.
Yes, wet with his leathers on.
It might make our bikes look slow.
Yeah, I mean, seeing another proper Yamaha Superbike on the grid too. That's
yeah. No, I mean that was the thing that I was trying to tell the Motor America guys is just let the program go the direction it's going, and we'll help some guys come up. I want to see the series, expand and do better and more competitive and more proper Superbikes in the paddock. I think it should be more competitive because there are no real factory teams anymore. We're a support team and M4 is a support team. So we do get a decent amount of support, but so does Westby. But it's nothing even a private guy who comes off a 600 can't build. And we'll be able to prove that this year, I do believe.
So we got a couple more questions. That's actually really cool. Going back to the support thing. I mean, just being like a club racer dork myself, just to be able to call you or, get your advice on whatever it is with the bikes, aside from the fact that you pretty much build them over there.
Yeah.
To be a club guy and take advantage of all that development that you guys are doing over there, it just doesn't really make any sense to not buy a Yamaha. I know there's a lot of guys that ride other stuff. Usually it's due to whatever the contingency programs are. But, for some kind of fat old guy like myself, I don't really give a crap about that.
Yeah, exactly. Back to the fun factor, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well,
so,
I mean, that's the difference between being a factory team and being a supported team who is also a business,
right.
in the sport, right? Something endemic. And so we sell what we race. So that makes it easy for someone to race exactly what we have. We'll sell one of those bikes over there. At the end, if somebody wants to roll in with the money, it's like, here you go. At the end of the weekend, boom, there's a Superbike for you. We'll just go build another one.
Right.
All the parts are available. Some stuff's a little harder with COVID. Like Morelli, I think, was shut down for a bit, and Italy, they went through a real hard time, and so a lot of the stuff is kind of gearing back up. Same with Brembo, and so there is a little bit of a lag, but that's not normal. That's abnormal, So I think anyone can basically build a Superbike with all, just if they plan it properly.
So it's not like the old days where you couldn't even get that part even if you had the money, right? Well,
I mean, Yamaha US basically built their own bikes in house,
right?
So if you know the right machine shops and this and that, it takes a lot of work and a lot of people to do that. But if you have a shop like ours who builds all that stuff, it'd be pretty easy for us to give you that. We make 10 of those, we'll make 11 of those, right?
Right.
So it's not that hard for us to make it. And so I think that opens up the possibility for other people to come in and have really good equipment instead of trying to dumb it down where everyone's running around on stock bikes. Well, at that point, it's not very exciting to me to build motorcycles. I hated working on your motorcycle, for instance.
Oh, can I just say I hated working on my motorcycle too?
What a stockpile.
Oh man, it's like I am so appreciative of what you guys do, even more so now that I'm like pulling this crap apart. I'm like, what is this? Like, why is this like this?
Because it's a stock motorcycle.
Yes. Jeez.
Man, our bikes are a joy to work on. Stock bikes.
I've seen you guys swap an engine in 15 minutes?
Yeah, about 25. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. You had the engine out and back in. Yeah.
Yeah. It took you an hour and a half or something, 2 hours to pull your wiring harness.
3 hours actually. Yeah. I was like, wow, good thing I'm not a mechanic trying to make a living doing this. You'd be homeless.
Well, you'd be very thin.
Oh man. Yeah, so I got a couple more questions from people. That Tim guy is asking, with regards to tires, would you like
tire pressures again?
Would you like to see a more open tire rule? I think we've covered this already about having all the brands do their own spec tire. That'd be kind of neat.
Well, I think there's a problem. Yes, I would like to have all the brands involved. I think the problem there is that Dunlop's pretty well invested in Motor America. And so some of the support that comes to the teams from Motor America is shuffled down from these big sponsors like Dunlop and those other guys, right? So if you lost those sponsors, then the teams may make a little less money, let's say, going the races, just the show money, which is great. They do that for the teams. So there's some issues with doing that, going that direction, but for sure I'm 100% behind opening it up to multiple brands, having a multiple brand spec, like we've talked about before, where the brands they would come in and say, okay, these are our 3 compounds we're going to introduce. Done. Whether it's semi-annual or quarterly or whatever, like they come up with a spec and they stick with that spec, and then the other guy does the same thing. It's pretty much that way with Dunlop. They have maybe 3 compounds we use all around the whole country.
Yeah, like a soft, medium, and hard, right?
No. They don't do soft, medium, hard. I was joking about this with the Dunlop guy. I said everything is soft, extra soft, super soft. And then they had that qualifying tire. What do you call that thing? And he said ludicrous soft. Like everything is soft or softest. So it's pretty funny. Yeah, they don't have anything they do have something that's medium, I think, but you never use it anywhere.
Oh.
Yeah.
You just use all the softer, and softest, and the ludicrous.
Yeah, and the ludicrous soft. Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah.
I think a Barber, when it was really abrasive, I think we might have used the medium. The hard, it would be impossible.
With the tires open like that, if it were open like that, it would open up potential sponsor support for some of the other teams. Right?
Well, like we've talked about it before, we used to get, I don't know, 100 grand worth of tires for the year from Pirelli.
Right.
Something like that, 50 grand, 100 grand. I can't remember. It was a lot because we ran two riders and 2 classes. So that was basically 8 motorcycles.
Yeah.
Because we had spare bikes at the time too. So, so you imagine how many tires you burn through. And there was, I think at the time, there wasn't even a tire usage rule. So you could use as many tires as you wanted, and we did.
Wow.
So if it was a tire that went 5 laps, we used however many, 30 of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not like that anymore. This
guy is asking, he says, multi bad base. He says, as a 34-year-old novice club racer moving up into expert after a great 2020 season, do you have any advice on things to focus on when beginning the quest for, quote, club racing stardom?
Yeah, have fun.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Club racing stardom.
Yeah. Oh, you could be
Yeah.
I remember Graves being the Willow Springs king, right?
Yeah, Curtis Adams too, right?
Curtis Adams, he was well known, took a lot of money home from all the contingency. So there's actually money to be made at the club level if you go contingency chasing and you're really fast. You don't. The races are short, so you don't have to be that fit. Like you could be pretty much fat and be able to finish a 5-lap race, and so you could go to work the next day. You just have to have fun doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I think as a club racer guy, like the guy's saying, and just focus on making it sustainable and fun. Camping out with your buddies and barbecuing and making a bunch of friends. And if you're all riding Yamahas, then if you break something, you could borrow something from your buddy or whatever. I mean, I think that's kind of what people should focus on rather than buying. Spend all your money on tires.
Hey, who was that guy that up at Willow Springs who you do a track day with him? He would start yelling at you and cussing at you.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
No, it wasn't you. But
I know exactly who you're talking about.
You're not going to mention any names, huh?
I'll mention his name. It was Tom Sarah.
That's right. I remember going to track day. He's like, "Oh, you effing this and that. So if you run off the track again, I'm going to blah blah blah." I'm like, "Holy crap! This is no fun."
Yeah,
then I went to one of your track days, like I don't know how long ago, Chuck Wall. You guys are throwing up, you had a bonfire and a barbecue and all this stuff at the end of the day. I mean, that was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I was on the bicycle ride with Carlo this morning, we were talking about it. I guess he raced at Willow in the early 2000s, late 90s. And we shared that Tom Serra story where we watched him clothesline a dude in the pits for speeding in the pits.
I can't believe that guy didn't go to jail.
It's like, what, dude? I think he pulled a knife on a guy or something. Like it was
crazy. But
yeah.
that's like the differences between fun and opposite of fun.
Dude, yeah. I mean, I did a track day with him, I think in 2002. And my friends and I were all there, and they called an emergency writers meeting midday, and so he could yell at a guy and kick him out.
In front of everyone.
In front of everybody. He threw his walkie-talkie and it shattered on the ground. Yeah. Fun time. Yeah. I mean, I still laugh at that, but
that dude needed therapy, man.
Way to behave. Come on, man.
Those are customers.
Yeah.
If we were like that, every customer walked in the door, we wouldn't have anything.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Okay, so Donovan Piper asks, for a privateer 600 class club racer with a data logger, what are a couple of things you would look at to bring down the lap times? For example, reducing coasting time by looking at brake pressure and TPS.
Throttle application. TPS, throttle application.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good place to start. You would look at, it reminds me of one of the first data systems we had way back in the day, like 1994, I think it was. We had Don Canet on our YZF 750 at Daytona. That was a Cycle World project. And that dude, he was a magazine editor. He was a really fast rider too. And it was just a magazine project. We just went and did the Daytona 200. That dude stared at the data nonstop. And what he looked at was how he opened the throttle, how smoothly you can open the throttle, how quickly you can get to wide open throttle. And instead, without rolling off and all those things. And that'll tell you if your lines are right. If you're exiting shallow, if you're entering shallow and you're exiting wide, then you have to roll back off the throttle. You'll see it in the data trace. So whenever I see that, first screen on our laptops are the rider screen. And so you look at it as throttle application. Is he smooth on the throttle? Is he smooth on the brakes? Is he holding steady brake pressure? If he goes in a corner, stabs the brake, lets off, or release a little pressure and then back on the pressure again, that guy's adjusting his line, he's adjusting his entry. He's not finding a good spot to enter. So you look at your brake pressure and see how the application is. And then you look at the throttle opening and of course the coasting. Are you getting to the apex with the brakes? In the old days, you couldn't pull the brake all the way to the apex like you can now. The tires are so good. I mean, you can see it in Cameron's data. Like one of the things we set up is some engine braking based on a couple of different points on the racetrack. So they'll have, one of the points is releasing the brake and the other point is apex. With Cameron's data, the releasing the point and the apex were basically the same.
Really?
Except with the numbers exactly the same. I mean, within 1K. So and then he would open the throttle. So the apex is basically the slowest part of the corner. And releasing the brake is obviously when you release the brake. So it was just amazing how good he was with using the front brake and working that front tire. And that's where I think you would gain a lot. When I was racing, I think I was pretty much on the brakes, and that was something I knew, I could have done better on there. I could have done better there. I could have done better there, and that, I think using the front brake is the hardest thing. Anybody can open the throttle, especially with modern motorcycles. We have traction control and all those things. Just about anybody can open a throttle. But using the front tire on the entry, I think is the hardest thing. So if you can focus on the brake pressures, if you have that sensor, see if it's smooth and it's a good amount of pressure, 8 bar, 10 bar, whatever you can get out of it, and getting into the corner and then, releasing all the way to the apex and opening the throttle right away.
Wow. That's it. I'm listening to that to apply that to my own stuff.
I'm just telling you what I see, and I can see the differences when a rider's uncomfortable. And you can see erratic riding, and then when they smooth out, they really go fast. And Cameron would look so smooth, but then you look at his brake pressure, it's like, holy crap, he's grabbing a lot of brake and he's leaned over because he applies the pressure of the front tire. So as soon as you apply the pressure of the front tire, you can really, really squeeze the brake really hard. But if you go in the corner and then, you brake straight and all of a sudden you bend the thing in without applying pressure all the way to the apex. So you told me that once at Chuckwalla. Hey, you can, because I think it was that double right if you're going, counterclockwise.
Right.
You come out of that first turn, you got left, and then you go double right, and you said, if you hold the brake lever all the way in, it'll suck the bike right into that apex. So that's the kind of stuff that Cameron was doing quite a bit, you know. So we didn't have a lot of complaints about the bike getting to the apex with him because he knew how to apply the brake. So I think that's the part where the guys will really improve if they know how to use that thing. That thing on the right.
That thing on the right.
Yeah.
The slow down button. Mike Kapoulos, sorry, dude, if I pronounced your name wrong. He wants to know who you'd suggest to build a wiring harness for a Morelli REX 140. Which is like ECU? Apparently that's a Twins Cup homologated ECU, and he's going to do it on a Aprilia 660.
Oh, I think the REX is the, if I'm not mistaken, that's the Moto 2 ECU as well.
Oh.
They're thinking about bringing that into the Superbike as a lower end ECU, but it has a lot of the same strategies as the MLE 240. And
who would you suggest to build a harness for that?
The harness, man, that's the hardest part is to find, because normally I would recommend, where's the guy at?
I don't know. Mike, okay. Where are you at? Where are you? Where are you?
In Southern California, I would normally recommend Zentech, but that dude is so busy doing race cars right now that he's like swamped until February. You know, then he gets slow in the middle of the year. But I don't know, maybe Herschel from the Westby team should open up his wiring harness business or something. But, you know, there's also Scott Smart, who does a lot of harnesses.
Okay.
Is what I hear anyway. I've never had him do one, but he's the FIM tech director. He's also a bit of a, you know, like, I don't know, he's involved with Motor America in some technical fashion as well, not anymore as a tech director. But he does quite a bit of loom work in Europe. So he might be a guy to get in contact with.
Mike's in Ohio.
In Ohio? There's a couple guys over there. I think if Chuck's listening, he might be able to direct that dude. You know, maybe they can. Maybe
hit up Mike. Hit up Chuck Chiquetto from Westby and
Chiachetto.
I just call him Chiquetto.
Yeah, I usually put something. He's usually like focused on something, more like freaking out about something.
Right.
Yeah. So I usually put that in front of Chetto. So I like one time he just kept calling me about camshafts. I call him Cam Chetto, and then it was some other Chetto, and then some other Chetto. I think today was Brake Chetto or something. Drag
well,
Chetto.
I mean, hopefully it's not Donut Chetto, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It might be that too.
Maybe it's
a fan of ice cream.
Ben and Jerry's Chetto.
Let's not get into politics. I gave that up.
Mark Johnson wants to know, has demand for the attack parts and services increased since winning championship?
I can't put my finger on it because COVID really increased it as well. But for sure, I mean, we were fairly popular before.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, we sold a lot of stuff this year, but I think a lot of shops did because of COVID, which is kind of crazy. But you know, nobody spent money on flying to Europe or going on vacation or buying dinner or whatever. So they had a bunch of cash they could spend on their. It's like, hey, honey, you want to go to, you know, so-and-so? Oh, that's closed. Hey, you want to go over here? No, that's closed. I think I'll buy some parts for my motorcycle. The motorcycle shop's open.
Right. I mean, that's been pretty common theme across the board. And then bicycles too, man. You know, we talk about it all the time. You know, I talked to the bicycle shop yesterday, and he said that even still, you know, all the high-end bikes are kind of easy to get right now, but the low-end bikes not so much.
They're gone.
Yeah,
I think the supply will come back as people figured out how to work around this pandemic and all the restrictions and all that.
Right.
You know, hate to be a naysayer, but I never was really that worried about the pandemic. I know some people need to be, but I wasn't.
No.
You know, but yeah. So I think that it's going to get back to normality. I think a lot of places maybe are starting to worry that this isn't going to keep going, these types of sales. So hopefully it does.
Yeah, hopefully it does, because we need dealerships full of bikes so people can buy more bikes, right? And then race them.
And smash them.
That happens sometimes.
Gravity wins. It's a two-wheel device.
I mean, what's your nickname for me?
Dust Off?
See? Yeah. So Donovan, he was asking about the ECU thing earlier, and he says thanks a lot. It was super helpful. He's on the fence about adding potentiometers, as he does do a bit of suspension work himself. And any tips on what to look for there? For example, resources to help if you know your bike is set up properly due to suspension travel on a corner entry as you are trailing off the brakes. That's a lot.
I don't know exactly what it means, but suspension is really dependent on a couple of things, and one of them is the rider. So, like we saw with Eric Bostrom, he would ask all the time, so where's my suspension travel mid-corner? I'd be like, oh, it's 80 millimeters. And they're like, oh, what's it over this corner? Oh, it's 80 millimeters. Oh, what's it over this corner? It's 80 millimeters. He goes, why is it all the same? I go, because that's where you put it. That's where you're comfortable with the geometry of the bike. And so then we, so it's kind of dependent on, again, that lever on the right, and the other lever, the throttle lever, that makes the suspension work. It isn't so much all the little bumps and nooks and crannies of the racetrack, but it's the geometry of the bike and the attitude. And so it's really dependent on the rider. And so once the rider finds himself in a comfortable position, he's going to put the bike where it feels comfortable. Like, for instance, with Cameron, I think at Road America, we were trying to get it to go over a seam in turn 5 better. And so we changed one of the fork springs. And then he went out that session and came back in. And he's like, you know what? Did you change the engine braking? I said, no. He said, man, I can't get it stopped in turn 1. I go, really? I go, give me a second. We changed the fork spring back. Didn't touch the engine braking. He's all, oh yeah, that stops a lot better now. And why was that? He had something to lean against, so he can brake a little harder and hit his brake marker without the thing feeling like it went all the way down on its, So, and then Steve Rapp was the same way. He would say something similar, and whenever we bumped up the spring rate in the front, he would use more fork stroke. You look at the data, and he wasn't using the fork stroke, and it wasn't that it was too stiff; it was actually too soft because it didn't feel comfortable getting there. So sometimes, like the cold tire pressure thing, sometimes it's the opposite of the way you think. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it makes sense to us. It's like, oh, but the guy has nothing he can lean against, so he's not going to put it there. He's uncomfortable.
This is like educational for me too. Like, I'm just listening. I'm like, wow, dude.
This is like every weekend. This is like work. You're making me work right now.
Hey, you made me work earlier today, so.
Hey, it's good on you, man. You should know how your bike goes together.
Yeah, that's what you guys are for.
Yeah.
Hi, Tyler.
Yeah.
Tyler Bankford. He's watching, I guess, and he's one of the Club Racer guys out of I think he's in Oceanside now.
Okay.
But yeah, he rides with us quite a bit, and I think he's a staff dude for one of my competitors. But like, we're all still homies.
Yeah, whatever. So
yeah,
I'll be friendly,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime those guys have asked me anything, I pretty much let them know everything I have, because I'm, what could I be other than honest, Yeah. So I could be a jerk and just not say anything, but that's not cool, So, but yeah, those guys, they're talking about doing over the summer. That Track Day company is talking about doing something at Miller, what do they call it now? Utah something.
Motorsports Park.
Their campus, motorsport campus.
It's like almost it's almost like the Marine Corps. UMC or something.
Yeah, UMC. There you go. Yeah. So he's talking about doing something. Maybe we could co-host something at the perimeter track.
What's really cool though? Did you see that Motor America released their schedule today?
Something about Brainerd.
Yeah, I haven't been there. I can't remember when the last time we were there. I used to really like going to that racetrack, but too bad they're going to take away that long straightaway, crazy long straightaway. I think the only guy in the paddock that rode there is Josh Hayes now.
What?
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of another guy that's raced there. I asked Heron, it was before his time.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, no one on our bikes. And
I mean,
I don't think Bobby Fong's raced there. I mean, that was a while ago. I mean, that was what's his name was out there. I mean, a bunch of guys. I mean, Tom Kipp rode our bike back then. Pridmore, Hayes. Yeah, that was in the 5-6 range,
Right.
Maybe 7. That's the latest. I think we went there.
That track, that crazy turn 1 was always amazing to watch.
Yeah, they're still going to have that turn 1, but I think they enter the track. Well, somebody can go on the Motor America site and see the layout, but they enter the track mid straightaway. So before they used to accelerate onto the drag strip. So imagine a fairly fast last turn that accelerates on the drag strip, and then they would go the full quarter mile plus the staging lanes, right?
Right.
And then they would go past the shutdown area full throttle, like for a rocket car. So you imagine how long the shutdown lane is, right? For a car going whatever, 300 miles an hour or something. And then they would basically full boogie lean it over to the right. I mean, at terminal velocity. So 199 miles an hour, 198 miles an hour. You bend it over the right. It's faster than turn 8 at Willow Springs. And then you would basically slow in the middle of the corner and then back shift on the exit to accelerate out of it.
Oh.
So it makes turn 8 seem small.
Yeah, I mean, it looked smaller than that on TV, but I remember watching those Brainerd races and thinking,
yeah, no, I have some good video of our Kawasaki with Josh on it, Hayes that is, catching up to Matt Mladen and Jake Zemke. So it was a pretty cool track. It was always a fun environment too for the locals out in the infield, crazy parties and bonfires and that whole scene.
Yeah, I mean, we
everyone everywhere.
We're working on that race series, right? And apparently, like the initials for the name is the same as the one they use out there.
Yeah, so, CRA.
God damn it! And
but so, you know what? You're more official because you already printed your shirts.
Yeah, we got the T-shirts already, right?
Yeah, so it's official.
Yeah. So that sucks that we did that, but we didn't even know that they existed. That's crazy. But those guys, we have this little thing. It's like, oh, how do you know the difference? And it's like, oh, when it's cold at one of them, it's because it's below 40, and the other one, it's because it's 40 below.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Minnesota is not a place you want to be during the winter.
No, man. No. Yeah. So.
And that's a drive. You land in Minneapolis, and then you got to keep driving and get to St. Paul and have lunch or something, and keep driving.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So it's not exactly close to an airport.
Oh. Okay. I'll have to keep that in mind for whenever.
I mean, it was St. Cloud. I'm sorry. It said St. Paul, I think. Yeah. So you land in Minneapolis, and St. Cloud is like halfway up there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then, so it's out there, it's like a resort town.
Really?
But the mosquitoes are just crazy. I mean, those things, they just eat you alive. There's so many mosquitoes at track. I got to figure out what we're going to do about mosquitoes. Big fans.
So Tyler wants to know when the new track's going to be done at Buttonwillow. Dude, if I had that answer, I'd tell it. I have no idea. I know they're pushing dirt around and stuff. I actually drove around the new layout last week during Richard's test, and I took his tire warmer guy out there, and it looks like the surface of the track is pretty well hard packed now, and it looks like they're prepping it for base rock or something. But you'd have to ask Les Phillips at Buttonwillow for what.
Yeah, they might have to go gather up some of the dirt off the other track that we were on, because I'm pretty sure it all blew onto our track.
Wow. Yeah, that's kind of true.
I have to sweep it up and put it back.
Oddly enough, the car guys that were out there didn't seem to be concerned with it at all.
They're cars.
Yeah, isn't that something? Yeah.
They got a vacuum cleaner. It's called the car.
Yeah. And then let's see. Ty also asks, when they race the Ridge next year, are they going to keep that same kink for turn 1 on the start? Seemed to make more sense to just use the straightaway.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Motor America learned some of their mistakes, and they're not going to repeat that one.
No?
So they'll come up with something. I mean, our suggestion was to back it up more, so you're kind of terminal before you get to turn one. Everyone
Right.
can break in line, or you just go past it, go straight ahead.
Right.
Like Infineon, they always had a different type of start procedure and then they would change that first turn after the start.
Right.
Well, so
to go back to what Ty is saying, I mean, you watch that. I mean, the 600 race seemed to be the gnarliest one, and that comes to mind. But the guys at the front of the grid weren't actually going as fast as the guys in the back of the grid, and so you end up guys like on the fourth row or something, and it creates that love connection.
The accordion effect.
Yes. Yeah, and then you have like what was it, Nissani and Richie Escalante making that connection there in turn one off the start, and like you said, to move it back would work, or off the start just to go straight for that off the start and then use the turn one after that. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think that would be a good way to do it. And they had the braking zone was kind of a little bit in the wrong spot for that turn, so they'll just adjust somehow, and then that'll be problem fixed, done.
Yeah,
we can definitely use a little bit softer dirt out there too.
Well, there's trees, so there's that.
I mean, just some soft dirt. All the stuff out there was like boulders.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I did. I tried to stay on the pavement.
Didn't you go in the rental car with us?
I didn't go off the pavement though.
Oh, I did. It's like pretty rocky.
Yeah.
So if Mike gets out there and crashes, it just gets destroyed.
So it's like willow, kind of.
Yeah, about like that, but more
grassy. With grass and
like the same type of like grass, gravel, rocks, hard packed dirt. That's the runoff.
Wow.
So some traps would be nice, but I don't think they're going to spend the money on sand traps. Maybe they will. I don't know.
Yeah, they're saying Altus. Altus is the one. Chris Lopez says it was Altus, but it was Jarrett Nissani was the one riding it. So there you go. Or was it? Yeah, it was Nissani, I think. Yeah. So so you just got off of that test. So you got a couple more tests before the start of the season?
Yeah, we'll do one in January. We'll do another one in February just to get everyone super comfortable, learn some more stuff. We had a new linkage we wanted to try for the suspension, but we didn't get to it because your track washed onto our track, the one you're going to race on.
It's not my fault.
All that dirt they're piling for you ended up on us.
I kicked it up in my truck. That's what it was.
Yeah, something happened, man. I couldn't believe it. All of a sudden, I'm like, what the hell's going on there? It was like dirt flying across the garage door. We had to shut the garage doors, if you can imagine that.
Oh, I was there.
I
was like, okay, that's my cue to leave.
Track's wrecked.
Yeah.
But so I'd like to get a couple more, like in January, February, and then there's an official one at COTA. And then we'll see. Maybe we're going to try to schedule something at Brainerd, see if we can get a day or so at Brainerd to see if we get a little set up before we show up for the main event. But it has to be like 30 days before the first practice.
Right.
Make it fit in a certain window. And then with Brainerd, you got to make sure you're there at the proper time of the year too. You're not going to go and test in January at Brainerd. Bring your ice tires.
Skis,
something.
Yeah. I don't know. Those the Brainerd dudes, I don't know what their schedule is like. But it'd be pretty cool to see them come out here and ride with us, and maybe some of us road trip and do like a road crew thing or something in Brainerd. That'd be kind of neat. I don't know. I'd be down to do that.
Well, we might have a day somewhere and then.
Okay.
Who knows? We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I mean, whatever's gonna happen with COVID and all these restrictions and all that stuff,
Yeah.
Luckily, we have a schedule. I think everyone's kind of figured out how to get around these restrictions.
Right.
So we have a schedule is pretty set, which is nice. And so now we can plan, and instead of last year or this year, whatever we're gonna call it.
Right.
This last season, where we were sitting on our hands for a long time going, what's happening? Every race kept getting canceled and pushed back and rescheduled, and the VIR came off the list, and now it's back on the list this year, and triple headers and all kinds of weird stuff we had to jump through. But at the end, Motor America did a good job. They pulled it off. Yeah. They had a full-on series and they had good television, and we kind of made it boring with Cameron, but he's gone. So, the racing should be pretty good next year.
Well, aren't you like trying to make it boring again?
That's our job, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you got the maniac Heron and you got the wild man Jake. I mean,
yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, so
They might be going at each other, hopefully.
yeah, I can see that already. There's definitely something there for sure.
I don't mind. More
No,
exciting.
as long as one of them's winning, right?
As long as they're not throwing chairs, I'm good.
I
Don't break our equipment.
Yeah, I don't see any of that happening, but
No.
you can definitely tell there's something,
Well,
everybody wants to beat their teammate, right?
Yeah, they're both competitors, and I welcome that, actually. So it should be fun.
That's gonna be great. Well, you know what, Richard? Tonight, this has been super fun, and I'm gonna let you get back to it. And
did you learn something?
I did, actually.
You gonna remember it?
Today too. Hopefully you'll remember it.
Yeah. Do you think that Luke remembered that your oil's still in the funnel out there?
I'm guessing not.
Probably not. I think he might have some short-term memory problems too. Is that right, Luke?
Yeah, Luke. I mean, he did destroy a Suzuki not that long ago. So
yeah, we're still teasing him about that. He might be the new dust-off.
He, I mean, he wanted a new Yamaha. He didn't have to go with total Suzuki to do it.
Yeah, we'll come up with a nickname for him. I just haven't come up with it yet.
Yeah, I'll work on that.
All right,
we'll workshop that. All right, Richard. Well, you know what?
Later.
Have a Merry Christmas and all that, and
Merry Christmas to everyone. Yep. See ya.